Okay, so thanks, Seth, for joining us on Unclutter White Spaces. Tell us a bit about your new book, Linchpin.
Well, Linchpin is a call to action issued at the end of one era and the beginning of another. We all were born after the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution created the reality that we live in. And that reality is there are big factories, efficient factories, businesses, organizations that need people to follow instructions. Hopefully a lot of people, hopefully people who work cheap. That's over. That ended in just the last few years. And it's being replaced by an era where the only people who get paid enough, who get paid what they're worth, are people who don't follow the instruction book, who create art, who are innovative, who work without a map. And my book says, wait a minute, that's an option available to everyone. Why don't you go ahead and take it?
One of your most recent posts, you talked about this is one of the scariest books you've ever written. Why is that? What's so scary about it?
Okay, well, here's the thing. There's a voice in the back of your head, what Steve Pressfield calls the resistance. It's your lizard brain, the part of your brain that doesn't want people to notice you, the part that doesn't want to get laughed at, the part that makes you not want to give a speech. And for the last few books, what I've been writing about are strategies. What I've been writing about are how organizations can take action that makes a difference. Yeah. When you write to organizations, there's a lot of deniability. The reader can say, well, this isn't about me, it's about my boss, or it's about my coworker. The reader can say, well, sure, that might work for some organizations. But what I'm doing with this book is I'm writing to you, the reader. And I'm saying this isn't for someone else, it's for you. And it's not just for you, it's for anybody who wants to take action. And that's putting myself way out on a limb, because you can say that I'm full of it, and you can say that I don't know what I'm talking about, and it's an easy thing to push away. And my lizard brain, my resistance, said don't write this book, because a lot of people are going to be afraid, and when people are afraid, they don't always act well. And so what I'm doing is pushing people really hard, and that's sort of scary.
Yeah, okay. How do you get your head around that then? How do you get beyond the fear of saying, your brain says don't do it, but you still do it?
Well, I try to take my own advice in all my books. Permission marketing, I use permission marketing to sell it. Unleashing the Idea Virus, I spread an idea virus around it. This is a book about negotiating and living with the lizard brain. And my personal technique is if the lizard brain tells me not to do something, that's exactly what I do. It is the best compass I have for what's necessary. And so the lizard brain spoke up and said, don't write that book. So I knew that that was the book to write.
Yeah, right. Okay. Do you think, is it a self-help book or is it a continuation of Tribes?
Well, someone commented that they didn't like the book because it was a self-help book.
Yeah.
And what they've decided is all books in a genre they don't like. Me, I like all genres. Mysteries, science fiction. If it's in the genre and it's good, I like it. Yeah. I don't like lousy science fiction, and I don't like bad self-help. So if you've decided you don't like self-help books, then I guarantee you this is not a self-help book. I think all help is self-help. The only person who's going to help you get out of wherever you are is yourself. It's a business book. It is in the spirit of the dip in that it's giving you an insight as to how the economy works. It is not, I think, a book in the spirit of rah, rah, you can do it, go, go, go. Because there's a lot of books like that already, and I didn't want to write one of those books.
I found Tribes fascinating, as you know. It was a great educational tool for understanding how to, build tribes. Is there a continuation from that book to this, or are we talking about a totally new concept?
Well, what I was trying to say in Tribes is marketing is not advertising anymore. Marketing is leadership. And once you come to grips with the fact that whatever it is you're doing, whether you are trying to build a community of surfers or a community of creatives or just get the world to realize that the iPad is worth buying, having a tribe is essential. But where I started going with that is that what captures the attention of a tribe is not boring stuff, it's not average stuff, it's art. That what attracts people to Steve Jobs instead of Michael Dell is art, right? And so the argument that I make in Linchpin is that anyone can do art, but if you're a leader, you have a requirement to do art.
If you define art, how would you define that?
It has nothing to do with painting.
Right.
Art is making a connection with someone else and generously giving them a gift that changes them. Art requires the gift element and the change element. And if you can do those two pieces, then you can succeed.
Yeah. I recently saw an interview you did with Piers on PSFK, which is really interesting, and you talked about your strategy to launch Linchpin. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Well, sure. The mainstream media, as we know, is dying. And nothing is dying faster than the business section and the book section. So if you write a business book, the number of places that can talk about it and spread the word is low. I also, though, realize that this other world is growing really fast. And it's the world of individuals standing up, talking to their tribe honestly online. People like Piers, people like you, people with blogs, people who are trying to spread a message. So I said, what if I completely eliminate mainstream media? Don't make any outbound calls to them. Don't send them review copies. Don't pitch them at all. And focused all my energy just on real people who have something they want to share. And we ended up connecting with over 60 bloggers and writers and worked with each one of them to do an interview or a guest post or a video. And then we launched them all on the very same day. So everyone set their reviews to launch or their posts to launch on 5 a.m. on the 23rd of January. And boom, I didn't write about my book at all. I just pointed to all these people. And that circle ended up being extremely virtuous and helping each one of the people who posted with more traffic and with more followers, and helped me because other people chose to talk about my book.
How do you measure that? Are you happy with the result?
Well, there's something that's easy to measure, which is did you sell a lot of copies? And I just found out from my publisher it was the #1 business book in America for the week that just ended, so that's a lot of copies.
Yeah, well done.
But for me, I didn't write it to sell copies. I wrote it to spread an idea. I wrote it to change people. Yeah. And what's really neat to me is 125 reviews on Amazon, hundreds of emails from people, lots of blog posts, and people were saying, I read it, I thought about it, this is what changed for me. And that's my passion. That's what I'm trying to do.
If you can just describe exactly what a linchpin is.
Well, in car manufacturing, the linchpin is a little tiny piece of metal that sits at the edge of a car and keeps the wheel from falling off the axle. It's tiny, it's easy to overlook, but you can't live without it.
Right.
And so I use that word for the title of my book, not because people are tiny, but because there are people you can't live without. People who make a difference. People who you can build a whole organization around. So White Spaces would be nothing without you, Ben. You're the linchpin. You keep things working. But it also could be the person who answers the phone at a restaurant. It's that interaction that makes someone feel special. So the work that I'm talking about, the irreplaceable work that matters, can be done at any job level, but it has to come with a certain intent. And the intent is that you're a human, not a cog in the machine.
What's the key takeaway? What are you expecting to happen from this book in terms of what do you want people to get?
Well, when Adam Smith and Karl Marx wrote their books about the Industrial Revolution, what they did was they established a template. They said there are two teams, workers and owners, and one side's going to win and one side's really going to lose. And they were both right. They both took different sides. Yeah. My goal here is to lay it down and say, okay, there's a third team now, the linchpins, people who are owners and workers the same, people who make a difference in any organization. My hope is that 10 years from now, people are going to look back and say, yeah, that book's still worth reading because that book established a fork in the road, a path for us. Some people, a few, are going to take the path and say, I'm going to look at work as a platform, a place where I can go to bring art. And other people are going to persist in doing what they're told. And I think today is the demarcation point. Today's the day when some people are going to choose one way and some people are going to choose the other. And if my email is any indication, more and more people are choosing to do the hard route, the difficult work of work that matters. And that makes it worth a year of putting this book together and getting it out the door.
I've got it.
Perfect.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm very happy. I want to thank you for spreading the word the way you do, not just about my work, but about work that matters. That people like you are the ones who are leading, who are standing up and saying, when I first started doing this, there were only 1 or 2 or 3 people reading me, but now there's a lot of you. And along the way, you might not get all the kudos you deserve. So I want to thank you for doing it, and I hope you keep doing it.
Yeah, thanks, man. I love it. I love what I do. And I love what you do. It's fantastic. It's inspiring. So thanks very much for taking the time. And we'll keep spreading the word about Linchpin and about Seth Godin. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Enjoy the surfing.
Yeah,
See
thanks,
you.
Mate.